Dear Professor Nguyen Ngoc Yen, dear colleague, Consul General of France Vincent Floreni, dear Director of the Agence Universitaire de la Francophonie, dear representatives of the private sector, dear new graduates, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for me to attend this meaningful celebration, and I'm deeply grateful to the academic leadership of Hoa Sen University for this invitation. I, of course, congratulate all of you, brilliant new graduates who have come to an end of your academic journey. To you, to your teachers and your mentors who accompanied you, goes, of course, all my admiration. But today I have been assigned the task to devote my speech on how the harmony of science and arts is important in education and innovation. An epic question, to whose answer many experts have struggled for centuries. I have no credential to answer this question other than being Italian. And Italy is the country of arts and beauty, but also a country where innovation and education have flourished over the centuries. Italy is famous worldwide for its heritage, but my country did also give a contribution to worldwide innovation capacity over the centuries and in modern times, being, for example, the third country after the US and the USSR to have sent a satellite into space, or being the country where radio or MP3 have been invented. The question on how harmony of science and arts is important in education and innovation is, of course, at the core of any academic institutions, families, households, and individual students, but is a crucial question for all of us. And in fact, is a question which has been very present also in politics, especially in all circumstances where a state, a nation, was in the process of being built or rebuilt on the new foundations of modernity. It happened in ancient times, but also in the construction of modern states in the Western and Eastern world over the last 5 centuries. Think of modern Russia, founded by Tsar Peter the Great, where huge attention and investments were devoted to education models and how to learn and apply updated technologies taken from European countries. Think of modern Turkey, founded by Kemal Atatürk at the beginning of the 20th century, where academic institutions were established with the focus of modernizing the country and making it finally free from religious traditions and analphabetism. To make more recent and closer examples, a very similar nation-building process was the one happened in Singapore between the 60s and the 90s of the 20th century by Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew. Research and studies are still ongoing on the stature of this statement, but certainly one priority he had in mind in the building of a modern nation with a competitive technology and innovation edge was education. Therefore, I was struck in finding out this quote in his biography. "Poetry is a luxury we cannot afford." Far from being an individual misconception, this sentence is pretty common among statesmen in their strategy of building a nation with the idea of keeping up on the edge of modernity. The opinion that priority must be given to an education based on a cutting-edge technologies while disregarding arts and humanities to keep up the pace with competitors is as common as false. We know that innovation and knowledge, with their consequences in terms of competitiveness, social justice, and economic prosperity, come from an holistic education approach, from a combination of arts, humanities, and science. We know it from history, from the ancient Greek times, where far-sighted statesmen not only took advice, but also protected and promoted studies of sophisticated thinkers who were at the same time philosophers, novelists, artists, mathematicians, astronomists, agronomists, etc. We know it even more clearly from the Renaissance times in Italy, in my own country, and in Europe, where this holistic education approach combining art and science have not only been pursued, but theorized. Humanism assumption was as revolutionary as clear. Mankind should stop paying blind tribute to the divine littere, the divine scripts, no longer or never able to provide a key for knowledge. From that moment on, mankind was called to lay the foundation of new education method based on humane littere, on the human findings, the mankind's capacity to look and interpret the world. From these theoretical premises, it comes as no surprise that humanism and Renaissance were the period of quintessential genius like Leonardo da Vinci, able to move from paintings to mechanical or anatomy studies. And it comes as no surprise that this holistic approach in research and innovation brought an unparalleled period of innovation progress for mankind all over Italy and Europe. It was the foundation of amazing discoveries in those centuries and in the centuries to come. So taking this example from the past, we now know that the answer to the question that was posed to me this morning is yes. We know that a combination of arts and science is crucial to promote an effective education and achieve innovation. This is very well framed nowadays in most educational systems around the world, including Singapore, where liberal arts and humanities took their rightful places in universities and schools. So since we know the answer, we should better ask how to keep this balance between arts and humanities in our individual, continuous, never-ending training and educational path. Your path, dear new graduates, is not stopping here today. It will evolve exactly as it happened to me and as it happens to all of us. I have to measure myself, a professional diplomat formed in humanities, with the new challenges to my capacity to understand the world I live in. I have to cope with new concepts like big data, or social media, or new performing arts, or even software coding. And I have to do it in challenging times. Let us not forget that every period has its own divine litera to fight. Leonardo da Vinci had the sacred scripts to overcome. Galileo Galilei had the Holy Inquisition to fight. We have fake news and an unprecedented amount of information to cross and check, to base our knowledge and to make our decisions, not only in our professions, but also in our role as parents or citizens. In summary, we have and we will always have to fetch our heads over the parapet of comfortable notions and knowledge we have gained by background and experience. And in doing so, we need to keep our individual balance of scientific, artistic, humanist notions and knowledge in our possessions. Unfortunately, I don't have a recipe to suggest to you how to do it or how to make it possible. My only possible suggestion is the recommendation to read one book. It's not a best-selling essay from some new educational guru. It's a novel from the famous German author Hermann Hesse. The novel is called Narcissus and Goldmund and was written in 1930. It portrays the characters of two friends. On one side, the zealous individualist Apollonian Narcissus, a studious and precocious, talented young monk who has the ambition to become even more knowledgeable and powerful through the total internal and external control of himself. On the other side, the passionate and Dionysian Goldmund, a difficult orphan supposed to study in the same monastery, who quickly finds out he was not talented for studying and make himself an artist through an errand life full of passions and even horrors. The novel's fundamental message is that neither Narcissus nor Goldmund could find their way to knowledge and finally happiness on their own. Goldmund found out quickly he has no disposition for erudition as a way to interpret the world, while Narcissus, thanks to the exposition to his difficult friend, eventually find out he cannot aim at a total knowledge and control from passions. Both needed one another's element of disposition to become what they really want and master their meaningful passage into this world of mortals. I hope this book could be inspirational to you as it was for me. To me, it brought up the conclusion that what is really important is not to find the synthesis between the two. What is really important is to never forget that you need a part of Dionysian disposition and a part of Apollonian disposition to evolve. Therefore, my conclusion will mock up a much more inspirational leader who did the same job as me today, the late Steve Jobs, who, by the way, was a fierce defender of the idea that innovation comes from a marriage between technologies and liberal arts and humanities. And so my final appeal is stay Apollonian and stay Dionysian. In bocca al lupo a tutti. Thank you.